Hi internet friends. Today we're tackling a topic that is so near and dear to my heart, and I feel like it's been a long time coming for me to make a dedicated video like this. How to shop for high quality clothing. Whether you're a big thrifter like myself, shopping new and trying to learn about sustainability, or investing in key pieces from luxury brands, knowing what to look for can make a huge difference in your wardrobe. Today we're going to explore the key signs of craftsmanship, the unexpected details that set quality clothing apart, and some under the radar tips to ensure you're getting the best bang for your buck. Without further ado, let's dive into this. Straight out of the gate, we're going to talk about fabric quality. Now, I have been a big fan of high quality natural fiber content. It is one of the biggest things that I always advocate and look for, whether I'm shopping brand new or at the thrift store. Cotton, wool, silk, and linen generally last longer and are going to age better in your wardrobe. I try my best to avoid synthetic blends unless they serve an actual purpose to the garment. So for instance, a cotton poly blend isn't your biggest enemy. Even going the 50-50 cotton polyester route, oftentimes this just allows for a little bit more stretch and integrity to the garment, but you want to make sure that it's not 100% polyester. That's where being a big fan of reading fabric content comes into play. And this concept is not a one size fits all. I think this is a very personal journey to be on as far as understanding what type of fabric content you enjoy. I've said this so many times before in the past, but I think it's so important that you go out and touch clothing. Like literally go to a thrift store, touch every single piece of fabric you can get your hands on, and decide what you tend to gravitate towards. I will say a lot of times people straight out of the gate will touch acrylic and actually fall in love with acrylic on the spot. But the trick is going to a thrift store and feeling used clothing, things that have been washed many times over, and realizing the acrylic doesn't age as well as something that is a natural fiber. So touching these garments once they've been used a little bit and realizing how quickly they show signs of wear is key in this experiment of like getting to know what exactly quality clothing looks like and feels like. Stitching and seams. Inspect the seams and stitches inside of your garment. I always say flip the clothing inside out and see what the stitching on the inside looks like. Are they clean and finished? Have they been reinforced? There are so many different things to look for with the seams and stitching, but if you want to do just a quick glance, like a quick one over, just taking a look at the item flipped inside out and just seeing how clean the lines are can make a world of difference in the quality of your garments. All three of these are thrifted used tops. This one I think is by far the best stitching. The reinforcement on this is truly good quality. Look at how messy that is. And yes, it has wash wear, so that is a factor to consider, but this has been washed probably the same amount of times and still holds up. This shirt right here is 38 years old and looks 10 times better than the shirt that is probably less than 2 years old. Pattern alignment. This is one of my personal favorites because I think this is one of those under the radar things. Not many people think to look for something like this, but when you are matching up seams or even coat pockets on a patterned jacket, oftentimes manufacturers will get lazy with matching up the patterns, and this can be a sign of a really well thought out, intentioned garment. And that is something that you want to look for when you're looking at clothing brands. What was the manufacturer's intent with this garment? Is it something that they just expected the person to buy for one season and throw out? Or is it something that they know is going to be a lifetime piece in their wardrobe? Taking the extra step to check pattern alignment can help you understand how long this piece is going to last in your wardrobe. Natural wrinkling and the sounds of fabric. This one sounds kind of funny because like who's going to stand around and listen to the sound of a garment? But a lot of times just like holding it up to your ear and kind of moving the piece back and forth, you can kind of get a generalized idea for the quality of the piece. But this also goes back to understanding fabric types. So understanding what like a polyester fabric is going to sound like to your ear versus a cotton. Doing a quick like fold test in your hands too to see how the garment wrinkles. A lot of times it'll show a little bit of wrinkle if it's good quality, but it oftentimes will kind of like start to lay back down into place. Something that's really bad quality is going to hold that wrinkle in place and never return to its original shape. Reinforced buttonholes. This is another one that can be kind of a wow factor for some people because it's not something that you oftentimes find yourself looking at on a garment. One of the first things I like to check when I'm shopping for blazers are the buttonholes. How much reinforcing is done on them. Same thing with cardigans. What does the buttonhole look like? If it already looks like it's worn in and the fabric is fraying, you know straight out of the gate it's not going to be a good quality garment. Reinforcement in areas that need it. I talk a lot about this on my channel, where we're not reinventing the wheel when it comes to clothing pieces. So there's a lot of garments out there that have stood the test of time because we've done them over and over and over again. A crisp white button-down shirt is nothing new. So if it's missing some key pieces like a yoke for the back of the garment, oftentimes you have to question, like, what was the intention of making this garment if you're not going to give it the pieces that it needs to stand the test of time. Paying attention to whether or not the garment has lining. This is another thing that is very much a personal preference. If you prefer, let's say, a linen shirt, if you're looking for something that's very breathable for summertime, oftentimes you probably don't want lining attached to that, or you're willing to use your own lining to make the outfit work in your wardrobe. But I will say, paying attention to how the lining lays on a garment is so crucial. Does the quality of the lining match the quality of the outside of the garment? So a lot of times brands will make a really nice like viscose dress, but on the inside they have a polyester lining that just doesn't make any sense. Or if you have a sheer panel dress with a lining that cuts off before the end of the seam, that's going to end up looking like a really cheap quality piece of clothing. Paying attention to the lining, what was their intention with the detail of this piece? I think this also holds true in blazers, whether or not the lining is sewn in properly. Take a look at the seams of the lining, how well is it stitched together? These are all key factors that you want to look at. My rule of thumb has always been, if the lining is cheap and feels like polyester or synthetic fibers, run. Don't even mess with it. It's pointless. I always like to do a quick button test, especially when I'm out thrifting. This is something that I see over and over and over again with denim. If it's a denim brand that I'm not familiar with and I want to figure out straight out of the gate if it's quality denim, I always kind of do like a light flick on the button to see if it's plastic or if it's metal. If it has a very plastic feel to it, I just skip it instantly. And you especially see this now more and more with garments from like Shein and Forever 21. Those buttons are hopelessly bad quality, and you can tell just by touching them. They have like a little bit of a jiggle to it because it's literally just a plastic cap on a very small piece of riveted metal. Drape and feel of an item. Does it bunch up in the wrong areas or sit lighter than average, or even worse, feel like scratchy and itchy or clingy? It's just not going to be a good piece of fabric. Again, this sometimes though can come down to personal preference and isn't the end all be all. I think, for instance, something like mohair wool is really good quality, but to the touch, it is terrible and not something that I like to wear without a piece underneath it. So it's just knowing and understanding what fabric types feel like. And again, I'm going to call back to the fact that, like, please go to a thrift store and touch clothing. Figure out what it is that you like about certain garments and understand how to wear them properly. But at the end of the day, if something does not drape or feel right on your body, most likely it's a pretty terrible piece of clothing. That is it for today's video. I really feel like this video was long overdue for me to make because quality clothing has been such a strong theme for the last few years on my channel, and I thought it was high time that I sat down and really dove into what exactly that means. Plus, it's so important that we speak with our pocketbooks. We have the purchase power, and I think the more and more we start to understand what quality pieces look like, the more and more we can hold a lot of these brands accountable and make them realize that we're not willing to put up with these pieces anymore. We want quality back in our clothing. It was there before, trust me, I've seen it because I literally make my living off of thrifting vintage clothing. And it's so important that we get back to those quality basics. Thank you so much for watching. If you guys are new around here, I might have a couple extra videos for you right here and right here, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.